On the biggest stages in the world, sacred Rihanna terrified judges, audiences, and millions watching at home. But what no one saw was how her life offstage was even darker than the illusions she performed. From unexplained blackouts during live broadcasts to whispers of strange accidents wherever she rehearsed, her presence seemed to carry something otherworldly. Producers banned her, crew members refused to be near her, even judges admitted they had nightmares. Yet despite fear and rejection, she became one of the most viral performers of all time. But her rise came with a cost, one that nearly destroyed her. Marie Antoinette Rihanna Grani, later known to the world as Sacred Rihanna, was born on July 13, 1992, in Jakarta, Indonesia. From the very beginning, her life was unlike anyone else's. Her father, Christian Yunardo, wasn't just a magician. He was a master of psychological illusions. His tricks weren't designed to amaze, but to disturb. Rooms he entered felt heavier, colder, leaving audiences unsettled rather than entertained. Growing up in this environment meant that Marie was surrounded by blurred lines between reality and imagination. Jakarta itself amplified this strange upbringing. The city's deep roots in mysticism and ghost stories were everywhere. As a child, Marie didn't laugh or play like the others. Instead, she asked unsettling questions about life, death, and the invisible things that frightened adults. Abandoned buildings and graveyards fascinated her, while ghost stories became a comfort instead of something to run from. People around her said she seemed born with an otherworldly connection, as if she understood shadows more than she understood people. Her family quickly realized this wasn't just a phase, this was who she truly was. And as she grew older, that haunting presence began to take shape into something unforgettable. By the time she appeared on television for the first time, Marie had crafted a presence that was closer to a living ghost story than a performer. Drawing inspiration from the terrifying Japanese film character Sadako from Ringu, she covered her face with long hair, wore pale dresses, and moved in ways that didn't seem human. But what set her apart was the precision. Every twitch, every unblinking stare, and every stiff doll-like movement was meticulously rehearsed. Nothing was accidental. Central to her act was Ri, a doll that mirrored her look with a blank expression and lifeless eyes. It was more than a prop, it was her companion. Rihanna once whispered, "Ri protects me," leaving fans debating whether the doll was symbolic of her lost childhood or something much darker. Crew members often said she refused to perform without it, even sending people across Jakarta late at night if the doll was forgotten. Her voice added another layer of fear. It wasn't a normal speaking tone, but a trembling, whispery sound, caught between childlike and adult. Every syllable she uttered was unsettling. In this haunting creation, Marie began erasing herself. From then on, there was only Sacred Rihanna. Her first true breakthrough came in 2013 on The Next Mentalist, a televised Indonesian magic competition. When she walked on stage with her hair covering her face and Ri clutched tightly, audiences had no idea what to expect. But what followed left them speechless. She barely spoke, hardly moved, yet managed to terrify everyone watching. Against all odds, she finished as the runner-up. Suddenly, this eerie, silent figure was being talked about across the country. But fame didn't come easy. Producers quickly grew wary. Some called her act too disturbing for families. Networks worried parents would complain, and at least 5 major shows dropped her entirely. They wanted her to soften her look, speak more, or appear less frightening. She refused. To her, Sacred Rihanna wasn't a character to be adjusted for ratings. It was who she had become. That commitment came at a cost. Jobs were scarce, and keeping up her props and costumes drained her financially. For months, she relied on family support, often performing at tiny local events just to survive. Still, she never gave in. Instead, the rejection made her more determined. If she couldn't fit into the entertainment industry, she would force the industry to fit her. In 2017, Sacred Rihanna stepped onto the stage of Asia's Got Talent. What began as confusion turned into one of the most unforgettable performances in the show's history. She appeared like a figure pulled straight out of a nightmare, silent, twitchy, clutching her doll, moving with an eerie slowness that made even seasoned judges uneasy. The audience held its breath as she performed illusions that felt less like tricks and more like hauntings. The real shock came when Judge Anggun, who had been the focus of many of her illusions, reacted with genuine terror. She admitted later that she had nightmares, and backstage crew confirmed they too felt disturbed whenever Rihanna was near. Unlike typical magicians, Rihanna didn't bring joy or wonder. She left people shaken. Despite not being the favorite to win, she stunned the world by taking first place, making history as the first horror act to win a major international talent competition. Overnight, her videos exploded online, amassing tens of millions of views. Fans across Asia and beyond debated whether she was simply an illusionist or something more. For Rihanna, it was proof that her uncompromising vision had worked. But the attention would soon come at a cost. When Rihanna arrived at America's Got Talent in 2018, the world was already buzzing. Her audition became legendary almost instantly. Silent as always, she approached the judges' table with her doll. She handed Mel B a newspaper clipping about a deadly fire and asked her to choose a photo of a supposed murderer. Then, in front of millions, a Polaroid snapped of Mel B revealed a ghostly figure standing just behind her. The audience gasped, and Mel B screamed in terror. Even Simon Cowell, usually unfazed, slammed his buzzer in panic. It wasn't rejection, it was fear. The clip went viral worldwide, cementing her status as the scariest act the show had ever seen. But her quarter-final performance brought even more controversy. During a climactic moment, the live broadcast cut to black. Viewers at home were stunned. When the show returned, Rihanna was gone, leaving only cryptic comments from the judges. Later, it was revealed the blackout had been staged, but fans continued debating whether something darker had occurred. Behind the scenes, staff whispered about strange malfunctions during her rehearsals. Lights flickered, cameras failed, and some refused to be alone in the same room with her. The fear was real, but despite the hype, she was eliminated soon after. After AGT, Rihanna shifted her career beyond the talent show stage. In 2019, she starred in her first horror film, The Sacred Rihanna, Beginning. The movie blurred fact and fiction, telling the story of a girl who grows up in a funeral home and befriends a haunted doll. The film terrified audiences in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore, solidifying her as a regional horror icon. By 2022, the sequel Sacred Rihanna 2 Bloody Mary took her even further. Shot in the haunted Vanderwijk fortress, the movie's realism was so intense that cast members worried about her mental state. She never broke character, even offset, leaving others unsettled about how deeply the role consumed her. Outside of film, she became a judge on The Great Magician Show, where her silent, eerie presence unnerved contestants. At the same time, her Spotify podcast Kiss a Horror gained traction, with fans saying her whispered ghost stories felt like real hauntings in their ears. Each step made her more famous, but also pulled her further away from her real identity. She had become not just a performer, but a full-time apparition. And the more she embraced Sacred Rihanna, the harder it became to find Marie again. By 2019, it was clear that Marie Granny no longer existed. Sacred Rihanna had consumed everything. She deleted every trace of her past from social media, erasing photos, posts, and her real name. Friends said speaking to her felt like talking to a ghost. Doctors later called it dissociative identity tension. She had worn her stage mask for so long that it became inseparable from who she was. In 2023, her world collapsed. Her grandfather, the last person who still called her Marie, died suddenly. To her, he was the final connection to her childhood self, the last reminder that she had once been more than a character. His death broke her. She canceled her shows, isolated herself, and slipped into silence. Even her beloved doll, once her anchor, could not comfort her. By October, she suffered a complete breakdown and checked into a private wellness clinic. There, she sat in silence, holding her doll, staring into mirrors, as though searching for the girl she used to be. Therapy encouraged her to remove the costume and makeup for the first time in years. Slowly, through small illusions, she began reconnecting with herself. But the recovery was fragile, and her future uncertain. In February 2024, Sacred Rihanna made a shocking return. For the first time in years, she stepped onto a stage, not as a viral ghost, but as a performer determined to blend horror with humanity. Her show alone, The Sacred Rihanna, debuted in Perth, Australia, selling out all 11 performances in days. Fans who had followed her since her viral auditions filled the enchanted ballroom, eager to see if she still had the power to terrify. What they witnessed was something new. While her eerie movements, doll and silence remained, the show told a deeply personal story. She wove illusions with themes of grief, fame, and identity. Audience members were asked to bring objects that once belonged to lost loved ones, which she then incorporated into her magic. For many, the performance felt less like entertainment and more like a ritual. Some attendees admitted they couldn't finish the show, overcome by its intensity. Others left shaken, questioning their beliefs about death and the spirit world. For Rihanna, it was more than a performance, it was survival. Her illusions had become a way to process her pain, to turn her haunted past into art. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a rebirth. Sacred Rihanna's story is one of transformation through terror. She began as a quiet, observant child, molded by illusions and mysticism, who grew into one of the most viral and unsettling performers the world had ever seen. Her rise was marked by haunting auditions, blackout controversies, and unforgettable moments of real fear on international stages. Yet behind every illusion was a person slowly disappearing into the very character she had created. Her breakdown in 2023 revealed the human cost of living as a ghost. Fame had brought her millions of views and worldwide attention, but it had also stolen her identity. For a time, even she no longer knew where Sacred Rihanna ended and Marie Grani began. But her 2024 return showed something remarkable, that even from the depths of collapse, art can become a way to heal. Her new performances blended horror with vulnerability, forcing audiences to confront not just fear of the supernatural, but fear of themselves. She built her legend by becoming the ghost everyone feared. Yet in the end, the scariest ghost she faced was her own reflection. And through it, she proved that even the darkest illusions can carry the power of survival.